Chapter 122 Kill by Poison. What's going on? Qian Jin asked, baffled by Shen San's warning. Due to his continuous trust in Shen San, he unconsciously stopped himself from drinking the alcohol. The one who originally served the food wasn't you but was someone else. Shen San did not pay notice of the fatty's misgivings but instead kept his hand on the saber at his waist and slowly stood. He coldly asked the young servant with the wine. Because there are too many guests, Li went to another room to run some errands. I am his replacement. Uncle, what's wrong? This young servant was looking attentively at Shen San. His complexion turned completely white after a moment as he replied, completely fearful. Seeing this person's expression, Shen San's expression had somewhat relaxed, however he still seemed ill at ease. He turned his head to the little Jin embraced by Shen Zhongshan and asked, Miss Jin, do you know this person? Is he truly a person from your Clear River brothel? This amazing beauty showed an expression of embarrassment, but still somewhat awkwardly said, I won't conceal this from you, Grandpa Shen, this person does seem really unfamiliar, however, our Clear River brothel contains over several hundred people. For this woman, having not seen someone before is not such a strange matter. Haha. Little San, aren't you bothering Miss Jin? How could such a delicately sweet beauty recognize everyone beneath her? Could it be you believe that this person infiltrated this establishment as an assassin? Shen Zhongshan unconcernedly asked as he lowered his head onto the attractive woman at his side and took a few strong whiffs. Boss, we make our livings on the blade's edge. It would be to our utmost advantage to be careful. Shen San's face was expressionless and he sent a rigid look at the youth delivering the plate. This person's footsteps are careless, and his eyes have no spirit. With a single look, you can tell he is no martial artist. If you still don't feel at ease, I still have a method that will identify his authenticity. The malicious scholar Fan Zhu coldly laughed several times and darkly stated. Ever since he entered the 4th level gang, he had long been dissatisfied with the trust Shen Zhongshan placed in Shen San as well as the claim that Shen San deserved the title of the 4th level gang's brains. He decided to disgrace Shen San rather nicely. Oh, what kind of method? My old pal Fan, don't hesitate to test it out. Although Shen Zhongshan had said this with a very heroic appearance, he actually cherished his small life rather greatly. As a result, he immediately withdrew his previous remark and approved Fan Zhu's examination. Since this person doesn't know martial arts, if he truly wanted to harm us, he would have simply tampered with our food and drink. So let's have him try it out and have the truth come to light. The malicious scholar said with a card up his sleeve. Brother Fan, good plan. Boy, first drink some of this wine for Uncle and eat some of the food too. If you have the slightest hesitation, Uncle will immediately wring your head. The dark fatty Qian Jin applauded happily and then loudly berated the young servant. When the black-clothed man, Shen San, heard Fan Zhu's words, he truly felt that this method was truly not bad and did not speak any words of opposition. He coldly looked on as a bystander. As for that Shen Zhongshan and little Jinji in his bosom, they also had no complaints. Consequently, the young servant that delivered the wine and food, with a sullen face, drank a cup of wine and ate a few mouthfuls of food. Seeing this person come out unscathed after eating the food and drinking the wine, Fan Zhu complacently smiled and said to Shen San with great emphasis, it seems my boy, Shen, was overly cautious. This person is truly just a servant. Next time, by all means, don't sweep everyone's wine again. With this said, he threw several spoons of food into his mouth and slowly chewed. Humph. Shen San snorted, not at all paying attention to Fan Zhu's oblique accusation but instead sat back down with a relaxed body. Haha. It's not important. It was just a misunderstanding. Shen Zhongshan naturally knew that his two subordinates did not get along well. However, this was what he had wanted to see. As a result, he feigned an outspoken laughing smile. Since this was a misunderstanding, this young servant can leave now. This silver can be regarded as a gift to you. Shin Zhongshan felt around for 2 taels worth of silver and tossed it towards the young servant. Thank you, uncle. Since I have no other business here, the servant will ask to be excused. The youth, dressed as a young servant, saw the silver with delight and withdrew in high spirits, closing the room's door as he left. Aya. Uncle Shen is truly generous. In the future you can't be stingy toward Jinji either. Little Jinji's sweet, coquettish voice spread throughout the room. Of course, beautiful. You are uncle's dearest treasure. So long as you serve this uncle well, he definitely won't treat you unfairly. Come brothers. Let us all drink a cup. We won't be returning sober. Shin Zhongshan's broken, harsh voice spread outside the room, where the youth could hear everything clearly. The youth outside the room suddenly sneered. He did not immediately leave but rather secretly eavesdropped in the vicinity, standing there like a ghost. He was motionless, as if he were waiting for something. After the time it took to make a cup of tea, one frightened yelling abruptly came from within the room, "Poison! The food and drinks are laced with poison. I've been poisoned." Just after he said this, the man strangely laughed 2 times before his breath halted. It appeared that this voice belonged to the dark fatty, Qian Jing. Slut! You actually conspired to murder the gang leader. I want your life. Shen Zhongshan roared with startling anger. However, it appeared to be too late, and after involuntarily letting out 2 hollow laughs, he actually fell to the ground, dead. Poison expert Fan Ji and Shen San fearfully looked at each other and spoke in unison, "That young servant poisoned us. That young servant must surely have the antidote." The 2 men immediately pushed the women in their embrace away and dashed out the door as if their buttocks were on fire. Unfortunately, just as they left the door, they let out a ha-ha before slowly falling to the ground. It seems that the dark fatty drank the most and therefore was the first to have the toxin take effect. That Shen Zhongshan must have also drank quite a bit and was the second. As for the black-clothed person and the scholar, although they did not drink much, the toxicity of my laughing soul powder is fierce. So long as a single drop is consumed, death will be certain, without a doubt. The youth leisurely thought. Afterwards, he waited for a moment before opening the door and entering the room. Taking a single look within the room, he saw that not a single life had remained. Even little Jinji and the other 3 women drank a cup and had long since taken their dying breath. After Han Li looked once through and confirmed for certain that none were still alive, did he swiftly leave the dune. Once the news that Shen Zhongshan succumbed to poison spreads, people will surely believe that he was killed by his enemies of Jianghu. It shouldn't provoke any greatly troublesome people. Han Li thought as he relaxed himself on the way back. This pure spirit powder is truly effective. So long as I take a dose in advance, not only can I protect myself against all kinds of poisons, but I can also protect myself against bewitching scents and other odd drugs. Last time, I used it against Lady Yan and the other wives, much to my amusement. He smiled somewhat oddly and could not help but grope the inside of his bosom. On the way back to the inn, Han Li saw no one noteworthy. He then entered his room and lied down on his bed, soundly sleeping. This was a habit Han Li unintentionally acquired. So long as he finished some great matter, he was particularly fond of lying down and falling fast asleep, properly loosening the exhaustion of his body and mind. As Han Li slept soundly, the deaths of Shen Zhongshan and his 3 great protectors had been discovered by the Clear River brothel. As a result, when the news spread throughout the 4th level gang, there was much uproar caused by many ambitious people. No one had thought to investigate Shen Zhongshan's death, because in Jia Yuan City, the strong preying on the weak was the law of the land. Shen Zhongshan had also climbed to his position after murdering the previous 4th level gang's leader. Consequently, the remaining leaders of the 4th level gang only cared about who was going to fill the vacancy left by the previous gang leader's death. As a result, incompetent candidates and those who remained unconvinced all competed in a fiery melee for the position of gang leader. Eventually, for the 4th level gang, This broke out during the same evening. The morning of the next day, the outcome was shockingly discovered by common gang members of the lowest gangs, those who had never taken part in the melee. In the entire 4th level gang, the one left standing was unexpectedly Sun Ergo, who could barely lift his eyes from exhaustion. Last night, this Sun Ergo had actually killed the rest of his senior opposition. Once no one dared to stand in opposition against him, he smoothly ascended to the position of 4th level gang's gang leader. Furthermore, the other gangs in the Western City District were given notice, confirming his succession. After Han Li, the one that plotted this behind the scenes, rose from a comfortable sleep, he showed up in the Mo estate at the small and rather unique building. He was facing the still-standing Lady Yan and several other beautiful women. However, behind them were the 3 great beauties of Jia Yuan City, Teacher Mo's 3 tender daughters. Han Li had seen Mo Yuju and Mo Kaiwan before, and thus his gaze was mostly focused on Dr. Mo's adopted daughter, Mo Fengwu. Wearing a yellow jacket, Mo Fengwu had a face shaped like a goose egg. It seemed she was 16 to 17 years of age, and her entirety was filled with an extraordinary gracefulness, giving Han Li the impression of a dainty spirit. At this time, because Han Li was attentively watching Mo Fengwu, she had somewhat shyly lowered her head, revealing an exquisitely slender, snow-white neck. Upon seeing this, Han Li could not help but secretly swallow his saliva several times. Young Master Han, refrain from looking at my clan's Fengwu with such a lustful gaze. Our Fengwu's face is quite thin. Are we not going to continue yesterday's topic? After the 3rd wife smiled bewitchingly, she said these words to Han Li with her charming voice. "1 The time it takes to make a cup of tea, 5 minutes.